Sweet.
I feel a tick in my head, and he's sucking on my head. In the morning I'll be dead if he doesn't leave my head. Why can't he go away? Why does he have to stay? Maybe he wants to play, but I can only say that I'll get you, I'll burn you, I'll crush you, I'll punch you, and now I'll pull you where you
All right. Welcome to God, Ween, Evan, the YouTube film series. Welcome to our masterclass. I'm Paul Gakowski. With me, as always, is...
My name is Will Nunziata.
Katie Hartman.
And, you know, I don't think it's going to surprise many people that Evan Kaufman's actually, he quit the podcast again in a over text message.
Well, we fired him once.
Right. We fired him and then we let him back in. And then we had like a great time. And then he sent a text like, you know, I have to work or whatever. I can't do this anymore. It was a real like 8th grade passive aggressive. Actually, no, I guess it was fairly straight up. He just said he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, he's busy. He was like trying to work a full-time job and raise 2 kids. While his wife is also working a full-time job. And also he hates us.
Yeah. And the band.
What does he do anyways?
A little of this, a little of that.
Yeah. Is he still trying to do comedy?
Better ask him.
So he might show up or he might not. We were talking in the pre-show. So our special guest today, Chris Roberti, knows very little about Ween. So I think any questions about the band that he might have, we just push it to Evan to answer.
Great idea.
And we get Evan's response, and then we can correct him.
Great idea.
Great.
If Evan
Speaking of
shows.
our special guest, Chris Roberti, I know that you both feel this way. One of my favorite human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
100%.
And he's one of those rare human beings. I wish I was like this, where everyone who seems to know him feels that way, you know, which is maybe a lot of pressure for Roberti. We could ask him, but it seems like everyone who knows him loves him.
I've never met anyone who has had a bad word to say about him.
Yeah.
He is I think he's a very unique voice, especially in the world of comedy, because he's very funny, he's very smart, and he's very good looking.
Guy's terribly.
And it's a lethal combo.
And he's got a good heart.
Yeah. And I know my wife is very attracted to him.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, I think I'm.
I think there's.
And I just hope he's blushing right now.
Is Katie Hartman? Do you know if David Carl's physically attracted to Chris Roberti?
I can ask David.
What?
Are you physically attracted to Chris Roberti?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Roberti is a very talented. We all met him through the People's Improv, or I shouldn't assume. I think we all met him doing improv.
I did doing sketch.
Doing sketch comedy in New York City. You'll recognize him if you watch the show High Maintenance. I think he's been on every season, recurring character. And he's also, for the Broad City fans out there, he plays with a lot of our fans who also in the Venn diagram of Ween and Fish, who fall in that category. The fish heads out there will recognize him from Broad City. He plays one of the best characters, the dude who works at the co-op who quotes Cavern, the fish song Cavern, in an episode. And he's got a new movie that he wrote and directed and starred in. And I think Katie Hartman and David Carl and Evan Kaufman, if he ever fucking showed up. I wonder if he even showed up for this. Maybe probably because he got paid, I guess. Should we bring him on? It's called Same Boat. Let's bring in Mr. Chris Roberti.
Here he is.
Wow, there he is.
Let me say, that really made me feel good. I think of all the things that were said that made me feel the best was that it implied that I still have a place in the comedy world, which I had kind of I hadn't considered, but it feels good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if and when that ever returns,
Right.
there's a place for you.
Oh, there's a seat at that table.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you all so much. You know, I feel I just want to say, first off, thank you. Will was, I think, one of the first, if not the first person to reach out to me during the quarantine to say, how are you doing? And
Oh, really?
yeah, I thought that was very touching to me. And I'll also apologize about how little I know Ween, and I don't know exactly who the people watching this are, but I would imagine they're like Ween fans. And if I were like a big fan of like U2 and someone had a U2 podcast and they brought on someone who didn't know anything about U2, I'd be pissed. So sorry.
The thing is that you're so charming that you'll win them over.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. But just in the very beginning, that was part of my charm offensive.
It's true. No, it's definitely true.
Yeah, forgive me for what I don't know.
Is this how this works? Anyway,
But that's the whole plot of the show, was that Evan had no idea. And then, but Evan was a supervillain from episode 1. And you're already, I mean, look at the face. You're a charming mofo.
Sympathetic character. I'll also say, I don't know what's important here, but part of my quarantine experience has been, for whatever reason, I'm going back to music that I listened to in the 90s and early 2000s. Just, I don't know why. And I'm having all these memories triggered when I lived in Boston during this time. And I think that, so this album came out in 1994. I think somehow I can transpose myself back to there. And I do think this is exactly, what's that?
A lot of REM night swimming over in this
Oh
house.
my God.
Yeah.
A lot of Omaha, a lot of Counting Crows, Omaha.
Since you brought up Counting Crows, with this kid, I forget his name, but he was like a year older than me in high school. He must have been a sophomore or a junior, and I was a sophomore, and he came over to my house, which is very rare. It was just like this nice guy, and I was showing him my room, and he said, "Don't you love the Counting Crows?" Apropos of nothing. And I thought, this is so beautiful that someone could just like love something and talk about it, because at that point I was very like, I don't really know how to deal with feelings, but that really sticks out of it. Like, how could anyone not love the Counting Crows? And I just need to talk about it with this guy.
Well, I love that you had that moment, because I love hearing you talk about things that you love. I think that's a big thing. And so I thank that person for setting that free in you.
Well, I love you all. Truly, seeing you all makes me so happy.
If I were to ask you how you're doing now, would I be the last person from your comedy like friendship circle?
No, you'd be the second. How am I doing? I mean, I think everyone's going through a lot.
Yeah.
There's been terrible beauty and pain and whatever, but I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Ram Dass.
Oh.
One of my little rituals is when I do the food shopping for the household is I'll listen to a Ram Dass. And I love it.
Are you doing
now that's what? That's prog rock?
Basically, yeah. It's kind of Peter Gabriel Genesis, kind of, if it takes a hard right.
I just found out my best friend from like first grade, Teddy Ballgame, who you've met. We went to a Ween show. Who he thought that prog rock was rock from like Czechoslovakia. Really, he just like recently, like he's known for years now, but he admitted recently that for when we were all younger, he was like he never wanted to say, like he just assumed all these bands, like someone put on Yes, and he was like, God, all these bands like prog's got such a hot rocks, like weird like heady rock.
The Czechs and the Slovaks really know how to rock hard.
Paul, where are you? Are you at the shore?
I am. I'm in Seagirt, New Jersey. Look at this. Can you read that? It says
Sandy toes and salty kisses.
That's right. Yeah.
My parents have a house in Ocean Grove, which I think is a little north.
Are they Methodist?
No, Lutheran.
That's a thing?
Well, it's a Methodist. You don't have to be Methodist to live there, but it's one of these communities that's got like a tabernacle. It's got all these old Victorian kind of like toy houses. It's really cool. It's weird, but it's just south of Asbury Park, so it's like there's a happen in town. Just there's all these like kind of beach towns around it that are, you know, more normal Jersey Shore beach towns, and then this kind of sleepy town was Methodist, like a Methodist settlement originally. Yeah.
Is that why it's a dry town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, there's no store. I mean, there's no stores really. There's like one restaurant.
There's no downtown, right? It's like it's a very weird. The Jersey Shore, like a lot of shore, you know, it's very formulaic, and Ocean Grove does not fit into that. Yeah, but I'm very close to Ocean Grove. We're leaving here.
Next time I'm down, I'll say.
Well, I'm leaving in 2 days to drive to Colorado.
I won't say that.
So you didn't come by. My parents will be, and my sister's here. That's why we're leaving.
Should we
I'm here for the salty kisses.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the movie?
Yeah, let's talk. Oh yeah. Speaking of.
Or should we just talk about vacation housing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
So Chris Roberti, writer, director, actor.
Right.
The film is Same Boat.
The film is Same Boat.
Tell us a little about
it. It was filmed without permission on a cruise ship. We shot about 90 pages in 7 days, something like that. Katie Hartman is in it. Evan Kaufman is in it. The idea is a time-traveling assassin played by me. Now, this is not in the film at all, but this is sort of the backstory, is the idea that time-traveling assassins should kill people on vacation, because on vacation, you're completely disoriented. And if you were to disappear, no one would really know for a while. So that's just for us to know. But anyway, so this time traveler and his sort of intern arrive on this cruise ship, and the intern gets seasick. And so my character, the kind of main assassin, is just sort of loafing around and falls in love with the person he's supposed to kill. And Katie and David Carl play like staff, and we had fake little name tags made up for them. And Evan Kaufman plays the boyfriend of the woman I'm supposed to kill, and she dumps him on the first night of the cruise.
Classic.
Yeah, that checks out.
That is well cast.
Anyway, it was fun to make, and at every step it's just been more and more fun, and it's finally like out. Well, as of April, it's on video on demand.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Oh, sorry.
No, you go. You go, Will. You go.
How does it feel to like create this baby from, you know, start to finish, and then the day that you send it out into the world, where it's like it's no longer in your control? Like, what is that? Is that release positive? Is it negative? Is it scary? Is it all those things? I
think I've learned from this and other projects, I don't like post-production, and I really don't care about anybody watching, you know. I'm much like, it's much more fun to like write it and make it. And production is such a like post-production is such a headache, and then like it is the iceberg. It's like the invisible thing that is just the real work of it, I think.
Right.
But it's, you know, it's fun that it's out. I really don't know. Like I said, my career, I have no idea what will happen to me. I'm probably going to die soon.
Well, yeah.
But one thing that did happen was the New York Times wrote a review of it, and it was like if someone could write down my worst thoughts about myself and then put it in the New York Times, that's what that would have been like.
Did they at least refer to you as Mr. Roberti?
No. And I still have a subscription to them.
Reviews, schmeviews.
No, but I'm glad, you know, again, I guess I hope I just can make more stuff. but I have nothing planned. I built some stuff recently. Let's talk
What
about.
did you build?
I built these beautiful planter benches. It's about 40 feet long. They're made of cedar. Really exquisite work. It was a great project. It took me about a month. And I will brag about it because I'm not experienced enough to be humble about it, but it was really good.
Let's get into a little bit about the record, and as we go, we can also chat about the movie some more. Chris, I saw the movie and I loved it. I bought it on YouTube in HD, and it looked beautiful on my television.
Good.
I feel like I feel like a little bit like Jiminy Glick, where I want to talk about your movie and be like, "Ooh, I haven't seen it."
I would love.
Sounds like an exciting project. You went through all this trouble to go on a boat and shoot a movie, and no one was the wiser, and I didn't see it. What was that like?
So, Chris, what did you know about the band Ween before we gave you the assignment of listening to Chocolate and Cheese all the way through?
I knew I worked at a summer camp, a Lutheran summer camp. Didn't you work at a church camp, Katie?
Church camp? No, I directed Claire Yale's show called Church Camp.
I knew there was some connection. But anyway,
you know what? I did go to a. You know what? Yes, the summer camp that I did go to was sort of churchy. I did. Yes, I remember that now.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
It's all right.
The way my gallery view is. This is a little disturbing. The way.
Oh, is it my tits on top?
He's. Wow. Didn't hear.
I think it looks like my tits are above Will, or like that. I think that.
Let me see if the gallery view is that.
Yeah.
I could see. For me, it's mine. All right, now I've perfectly put myself in position.
To me, it's Paul's.
This is a visual joke.
You have to put the top.
Yeah, but none of this is what's on YouTube, so no one knows.
Man.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys. Sorry, you YouTubers.
What did I know about Ween?
Which New Hampshire?
And this guy who I shared a tent with liked Ween, and he was like a tough guy and a drug guy. And I saw the cover of the album, and I thought, this music is not for me. This is, pornographic or whatever.
That's
not even at a. What's that?
Well, that's very similar to Evan. Like when he talked about his experience of Ween, it was like he felt outside of it as like a. And I'm not saying this about you, Roberti. I'm not projecting this on you, but Evan was like not in a group like that. Like there was like there was like a druggy, tough, punky kind of group that he was like, oh, that's not what for me. I'm like, I want show tunes and.
Yeah. But then I did hear Voodoo Lady on the radio, and I really liked it. I think that's it. That's all I know about Ween. And then this podcast, which I just like on Instagram and Twitter, but never have listened to, except
appreciate it.
Hey.
Yeah.
So how many times overall do you think you listened to the record with your new
four or five?
And it was spread out. You probably spread this out because we kept delaying and delaying.
Yeah, I would say over the past month, I've listened to it 4 or 5 times. Most recently this afternoon, where I took notes on a Google Doc.
All right, perfect. Paul, let's start at the beginning. Track 1 off 1994's Chocolate and Cheese is a song called Take Me Away.
I don't know. You got it? All right. We got it. This is what it sounds like. All right. Let's Take Me Away. Because we have to go. We have a lot of tracks to get through, so I don't want to spend a lot of time listening to tracks that don't even sound good over the internet. So take me away. Take it away, Christopher.
Do you want me to talk about it? All right.
Yeah.
I think this sets the scene. I've listened to a lot of the Dissect podcast. Do you know that podcast? not to talk about another music podcast on a music podcast, but it's really helped me think about music. So I was thinking about this as an album, and I think this track, it's either about a breakup or this person is about to die. So a romantic breakup or a breakup between the body and the soul. I also think it's interesting that there's applause at the very beginning, as if we've been waiting for Ween to sing to us again. And finally, here they are. They come back. We're in the lounge with them, and we all clap.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, super loungy. It's a great opener. It feels like a show opener, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
And for the band, since you don't know the history, this was their first like big budget record. Their first, they had a lot of money to record. They went to a big fancy studio. Everything else was kind of like 4-track recordings of basement tapes.
Okay.
And this was a big record
Their
that
arrival.
got a big electro release.
Yeah. I also don't. So this sets up this feeling of like, I don't know what is sincere, or I don't know what's like tongue in cheek. And I was also thinking like maybe the gulf between our post 9/11 death of irony world and in 1994 might create some kind of dissonance in my head. But this is one of those things, like, you know, that was something that I noticed, like this sort of like a jokiness maybe about it. And so sometimes I'm like, what is this like, is this sincere, or is this poking fun at something?
I think that's a lot of their music. If anyone else wants to jump in, feel free. But I think a lot of their music uses comedy in a very serious, like in the 90s when it wasn't cool to be anything. It was cool to be like a loser.
Right.
In a way. They were able to kind of like be funny and like be themselves and also create fun rock and roll. And it was the only band that I could think of. I mean, there's some Pavement stuff that's kind of funny actually, but they were a band that I think used comedy, and that for me hooked me early, was that aspect of it.
Yeah, and Pavement were never really goofy. Besides Gary Young, the original drummer, maybe, but like Malcolm has always took himself a little, like, you know. I think we talked about. So we had Roberti. I love what you're saying about it, and the idea of like, and also Roberti, is irony just dead? Is irony dead? Do we live in
No, I just think like that was something that was like, oh, like the HIV song. I think in that era there was times where there was like a few people were making kind of jokey HIV songs, and not. I mean, it just was. I don't know, that like it doesn't ring. It just doesn't hit in the way that I think it would have hit then. And I think people just talked about the death of irony after 9/11.
Yeah.
And I do think the world, and the world changed. Like, even like I was in Times Square the other day, and there are all these ads from like movies that are from March or whatever. And even ads that are now, it's like, oh, none of these people in these pictures know what has happened.
Right.
Like, and like, in a way, it's like these people are so stupid they don't know anything, So I feel it's like one of those things.
They're all so close to each other.
Yeah,
6 feet apart.
It's like, you can't do that.
Give yourself some space.
We had go ahead, Katie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, we all have done stuff in the improv world, and for me, it's like that sense of comedy and like that sort of like can hit or miss. In general, like for me, like Ween just like follows their own fun real hard.
Yeah.
And has developed that and like and concentrated on that, which, I don't know.
Yeah, we had a couple weeks ago, Will and I interviewed this guy Hank Steamer, who wrote the 33 1/3 book about this record. And he's the senior music editor at Rolling Stone now. We talked about how like one of the conclusions of the interview is just that like Ween is ultimately a punk band, and that there's because they present at the time, like an authentic, goofy self, like that was like not trying to weren't posing in any way. They were, but yeah, there's also it. So because of that, I think there's the same way that like if you were to ask Ian MacKaye from Fugazi and Minor Threat about some early Minor Threat songs that like Guilty of Being White, he's talked about as like, I would, that was a song of a confused white kid,
right,
going to an all black high school and not knowing historical context. So I think there's Ween records, there's Ween tracks that like would never, it's like, I was talking last night with some people about like the film Trading Places and like movies that just wouldn't get made.
Yeah.
Today, mostly for better.
Yeah.
And a little bit for worse in some way, maybe, perhaps, in terms of the telling story through comedy that, still cuts through.
This gets me back to the New York Times review of me. I was proud. It's what they didn't say that made me proud. There was some, it's weird. I thought about it for a day, it made me sad, and I haven't thought about it since. But they had issues with my performance, totally fine. And then they had issues with the plot, also totally fine. But they couldn't say that I think I made fun of anyone or I took cheap shots. And I think that is important for me of trying to be as inclusive, not out of a political thing, but through improv. One of the big things that I took away were try to be kinder, more curious, and more generous on stage and in your work than you are in real life. And I think those kind of three things keep me on the right track. It makes me funnier. It makes myself more successful in my eyes. And it doesn't make me hurt anybody. And so that was something that I was proud of, that the gray lady couldn't hit me there.
And I think Ween does that, but only it's just covered in a film of sludge and brownness.
It does feel fudgy and brownness. I kept thinking of like a dump. that really.
I think we should move. Let's move on to the next.
Right.
This is good. Let's move on to the next song. The next
Spinal
track.
Meningitis.
Got me down.
So
we'll listen to it.
You could talk.
Yeah, we can talk over. I mean, I don't know if people can even hear it.
I can hear it.
I mean, we're already way late.
Yeah.
We gotta fly. Okay, Spinal Meningitis.
I think this guy's dying, and he's got the voice of a baby and the voice of his adult self in there calling for his mom. And so this is the death. There's the toy instrument, but also like a really cool like adult guitar that does not seem tongue-in-cheek. So I think this is this person dying. So the first one was like, I'm gonna go insane if I'm not taken away. And now this is like a descent into fever.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2 on death. I don't know if it's the Ram Dass that you're listening to while you're shopping for Fred's bread, but sure you're 2 for 2 on death so far.
This goes through the whole thing. I've done. Listen, okay. I don't know how you should we just race through or everybody. I don't want to.
First stop, best stop. Go for what you think runs through.
Also, did you like it?
Yeah, thank you, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. It's like this album missed the window for me. This is not maybe, or Ween maybe right now. I'm not at a place in my life where we missed each other, kind of.
Yeah.
But I definitely like it, and there's a lot of stuff in here that is like perfectly what I like, my taste in certain ways. I like this song. The only song, well, whatever.
You don't have to.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it all. But I'm certainly interested in it. And the kind of reading that I was doing of it makes me feel like there's something really cool there.
That makes me feel cool.
But I don't, what is he saying before he says, he's like spinal meningitis or something?
Meningitis.
No, but
yeah.
he says they mispronounce
Smile,
it.
smile,
Oh,
smile on me. Is it smile upon me, mighty Jesus, or what does he say? Well,
smile, Almighty Jesus.
Yeah.
Spinal meningitis got me down.
I think he's praying. I mean, I think it's a.
He's dying, man.
Yeah.
He's praying to God. He's calling for his mommy.
Yeah.
Next we go into Freedom of 76.
Right.
Arguably one of the best songs on the record.
Should I bother playing the songs or no? Roberti's just listened to it. Do I?
Yeah, everybody knows it. Everyone who's listening knows it.
This is the freedom of body and mind. The mind freedom from the body.
Yeah.
It's floating in this out here. I don't understand the Philadelphia stuff though. Are they from Philadelphia?
That's very much their home city. They're from New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I know New Hope. That's a nice town.
Do you know that area? Have you been to
on the river?
Yeah.
But I really like the groove. And then something comes up later about Philadelphia that makes me think about it, but I forget. But yeah, that's my feeling of like he has passed through, he's shedding the body, and now it's just he's free of his independence.
I love that you're taking it all, and it's such an interesting way to. I never think of Ween albums this way, as like this one cohesive thought,
right,
or like a journey. But
right.
It does. But you can think of it that way. To me, it's like such a hodgepodge of like different genres,
right,
that all just somehow connect because it's the same weirdos that are playing all these genres.
Mm.
But I love this tale that you're weaving.
Well, track 4. I can't put my finger on it.
What do you put your finger on?
Well, they say, is it alive or dead, right? And in my thing is a bunch of weird monsters found this guy's body in the dump, and they're poking and prying. So now he's in Soul Land. He's in the afterlife, kind of. And the guy singing sounds to me a lot like Strong Bad, but this is before Strong Bad, I think. And it's a cha-cha-cha. It ends with dun dun dun, which I think is but then he says, what is the lyric here? I look surprised when I touch the dark inside, or when I touch the dwarf inside.
The dwarf.
The dwarf inside.
The dwarf.
Are you surprised when I touch the dwarf inside?
Oh. Again, I think this is the dwarf, the baby that rides around with us, similar to the baby's voice and the adult's voice. So this is the soul. I don't know what this thing is. So that's my feeling.
Killing this, Birdie.
Yeah.
It's so much better than Evan, because Evan either just flat out says, well, I didn't like it, or tries to invent a musical that it all ties into in some way.
Yeah.
Like these are all tracks in it.
The record, The Mollusk, which I think you should, if you haven't done any other deep dives into Ween records, I would go to The Mollusk next, perhaps. Or Quebec is more of a grown-up record. I think that would connect with you where you are in your life now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evan's like, or he just goes, you know what? I make some joke about how these guys will never be city planners because they've never heard of a bridge. Which is the funniest thing.
I disagree.
That's the funniest thing. That was a bad example.
This is why Evan is a successful kind of corporate comedian.
Yeah.
He whatever. The woman from Valerian came to his show. Nobody from Valerian is going to come to my show and be in it. He's got he's like packaged well, and he could say something like, they couldn't be city planners because they never heard of a bridge. That is
I know, that's why I love him, actually. That was the worst example to give of stupid jokes he's made, because it's my favorite joke he's ever made.
But he's the jar of Hellman's mayonnaise that everyone's got in their fridge.
You got to have him around there. But I will say, in this, one of my notes was bridges really give you an insight into the songs.
Oh, wow.
And that's where he says, I look surprised when I touch the dark inside, or the dwarf inside.
The dwarf, yeah.
Or were you surprised?
Which brings us to the next song, A Tear for Eddie, which I don't know if you know the backstory of this song, but before we talk about it, what did you take away?
I think this is the mourning the loss of his old self, right? So the last one was these other people checking the body, and now it's this person, and I'll say him just for sake, because it seems like it's a bunch of guys, but him coming into the realization that he has lost the body, that he's kind of coming to his senses in Soul Land. And I don't know who Eddie is. Maybe Eddie was the guy who died. It could be Eddie Van Halen or Eddie Vedder.
No, it is about a dead. It's a tribute to Eddie Hazel, the guitar player from Parliament and from Funkadelic, who's like, many people consider one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Who Dean Ween, Mickey Melchiondo, the lead guitar player from Ween, was idolized and was a friend of, I think. And this was his homage. So it is about it's about a dead man, certainly. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm right. It's a hit.
Yeah. All right, moving
Chris,
along.
Quick question: when you were on High Maintenance and you quoted Fish, were you aware?
Broad City.
That was Broad City.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
I apologize.
Broad City.
He knows your filmography. He does.
That's great. That means a lot to me. Did I know Fish? No, I did not. And I listened to that song to try to get some context, and it eluded me completely. And my friend, one of my best friends from high school, we had seen each other the year before, and he was like, "I love Broad City so much," and he's a major Fish head. And so, in secret ways, I dedicated that performance to him. I told him that after the fact, but I think he thought that I chose that song to say, like I chose that line.
Not that somebody else.
Just like off the top of my head.
So I mentioned Fish because this song.
I said this is a stupid Fish song. Roses are free.
This is, but they cover this, and this brought super popularity.
This is a
Ween song that Fish
Fish
covers.
sings.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I am tapping into something here.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
The music is talking clearly to you. So the song's called "Roses Are Free,"
right?
And you got a Fish vibe out of it.
Yeah, it meant okay. So these are like weird proverbs. I don't know what this is, sort of nonsense and like nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
Putting something on the Christmas tree, and I was like, what or no, do you know the reason, what you put on the tree? Then there's pumpkins, there's all these kind of pagan like celebrations. I think this kid is back in school. The body is now a child in school learning these like sing-songy rhymes. Some things are like proverbs, just like, what does it mean to say the roses are free? No one has ever said the roses are free. So maybe it's a funeral. I think he's in like kindergarten and just getting all this bullshit. And then it does end with carnival music, which supports my idea that this is this is like baby talk.
Yeah.
What is so interesting?
Go ahead, Will.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, Roberti, for a few years, I don't think you've done it. You didn't do it this year, but you would do your Christmas Carol readings.
Yeah.
From behind a tinsel, and it always made me think of this song when you were reading from behind a Christmas tree, with the tinsel and the lights buried. I was
inside the tree.
Inside the itchy. I was worried about how itchy you might be back there.
I love the smell. The lights were the number. Sometimes they'd be very hot and laying on my skin.
But I don't know. There's something about the connection between tinsel in a tree and you in a tree with tinsel reading A Christmas Carol. Like,
Chris, your insight's very interesting because you're very much a poetry guy.
Sure.
I don't know anyone else in comedy that has a knowledge and the poetic eloquence that you have.
Well, thank you.
So I think you're a lyrics guy because you're definitely hearing the lyrics. And for me, I never hear lyrics until like 10, 15 listens in, and I don't really process. They're just like word paintings.
Sure.
And I'm not really processing a story.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear like the insight that you bring to this.
Well, thank you. But I will say this does seem to be like there is no sense that I could find. And also I have this agenda where it's either a breakup album or someone dying and then being reborn album.
For every album ever? Or
no, that was just kind of some of the things I was getting. And now, part of it is like, well, can I kind of wedge this in there?
There's a relationship. I've always found a relationship piece of this too, about like the idea of roses being, don't believe the florist when he tells you that the roses are free, is like, there's no free rides in a relationship, or there's no free, like the work, like there was, I bought the roses. I've paid through whatever, through blood, sweat, tears.
Yeah.
I've paid for these roses.
Yeah. I think that's, that also, and certainly the next one, the Baby Bitch, really kind of.
Let's talk about Baby Bitch. What do you?
Elliott Smith. This sounds like Elliott Smith to me.
Elliott Smith did a cover version of this song.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, in like '96 with, I forget who he sang it with.
I mean, it sounds like
but
him
he
so
covered
much.
it. Yeah,
I'm not surprised. So now,
who is it? Who did he sing it with?
I would have to Google it. I'll Google it if you guys just keep chatting.
Maybe it's possible I heard, it's possible I would have heard that because I listened to some Elliott Smith. Anyway, I think that the person's like, it's been a year, you're re-meeting this love that broke your heart. I love this song. But also it could be in a new incarnation. And then this idea of like, I'm better now, please fuck off, right? I think when you're young, you feel entitled to pleasure. And you can't even conceive that you would have to suffer in the way maybe that you're going to. And so I think that's that. Number one is like, oh, you see someone that you met before, but then even if it was in another life or another incarnation, it's like, I don't have time for you. I'm better. Please fuck off. Obviously, you're not better. When you're young, you have whatever that thing. You think you're better, but you're still hurt. You can't really say bitch nowadays, but sometimes it's really I sent a text to my brother that said Happy Father's Day, bitch, and it really felt good to send. I just won't say it.
Father's Day, baby bitch.
Now, well, he wouldn't have gotten it. Next year I'll send it.
Matter.
Yeah, I can't find who he sang it with, but this song was released a year before Elliott Smith's career started. So that is something.
Oh, and then in the British, I got fat, got angry, started hating myself. That could be the title of my COVID memoir. And then at the end he says, I can't close my eyes anymore, right? So, I mean, you could talk about death, but also the idea of innocence and experience that kind of through the maturation, you're becoming, you can't look away.
Yeah, and it's good to know that this album was written by 22, 23-year-olds.
That's one of my questions. How old are these people, and how many people are singing? Like, how big is Ween? How many people sing?
It started off as a two-piece, a singer and a guitar player, and then they would have like basically a drum machine, bass, like tape deck that was playing their background music.
Yeah.
And then after this album, they formed more of a live band, and then became like a big touring band and developed.
Right.
And like all these old songs grew into new live songs. Like, can't put my finger on it is now like a 15-minute jam. Sometimes that's like it's weird and Arabic and also like just dirty. Yeah.
That's cool. I would like to see Ween.
I think we should definitely go when things are after the vaccine comes.
Great.
2022.
Yeah.
No.
You want to go now, Katie Hudson? Katie's ready.
I'll do it.
Mister, would you please help my pony?
His pony is having some respiratory disease. I think his lungs fucked up. I think this is sort of like, is he saying poor me or poor pony at the end?
I think it's just pony.
I think it's pony.
I think this
it's
is
the same pony.
This is sort of the dark night of the soul almost. This is he's lost everything. If this is a cowboy, this is like a country song. Even my horse, he's eating the bark instead of the leaves. My pony is dead. This is over.
So what do you think of, how does the album cover and title of the record tie into this theory for you? Or does it?
I think the breakup, it's a woman knocked him out. It looks like Rocky. And which gets back to Philadelphia. That was the callback to Philadelphia. So this woman, well, actually, one is a woman in the relationship. A woman destroys him, knocks him out, and it's his recovery. The other is desire destroys him, which would be the more maybe Ram Dass reading, and it's about finding peace, which ultimately he does, and in an avoidance of desire. And I think cheese and chocolate. There's also the shit where you eat thing, and I don't know if there's a play on chocolate as shit, but I think there's something about desire. The desire of cheese and chocolate is something that you'll never have enough, and you'll you'll be sent back again and again to striving and samsara.
I mean, I'm already like feeling this story, because I know that the pony's dying, this cowboy's pony's dying, and now he's just a drifter in the dark.
Exactly. And I will bet,
I'm with you.
I don't know this, I will bet $10 that this is the end of side one, Drifter in the Dark. It's got to be. Because
Well, you don't have the record. I don't have the record here.
Yeah, I'm not here. I mean, yeah, I got sandy toes and salty kisses. I got.
Very well. Let's ask anyone in the comments. Is this the end of side A?
I said I would bet my entire COVID unemployment, which has been quite a boon to me, that this is the end of side one of the tape of the album. This sounds like the Magnetic Fields, like, again, a doo-wop, old-time cowboy song. But I think he's in darkness. He's got no pony. He's got no love. He's on his own. And then, if I'm right about this end of side one, you, as the listener, have to travel through darkness and silence to flip over the record. Or maybe if you're driving, you've been listening to music and now there's that quiet. You have to take it out and fumble for that in the dark to see what's on the other side.
Which I don't know if this is, I mean, I want to just say it's true, because why not? What's true, I mean, but, and then you'd find Voodoo Lady on the other side.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Voodoo Lady.
I don't know. This is like the song on the radio, right? This is like
this was in like Dude Where's My Car, or wait, was in Dude Where's My Car, it was in
Road Trip,
Stifler, and it was Stifler in both those movies, and
American Pie, was that Stifler?
Yeah. It's not an American, maybe it's an American Pie too. No, it's not. But this is a song that it was like one of their bigger, they made a video for it. It's them underwater, like, but this is a song that when they play it live, it's like one of the heavier, intense, 8 to 20 minute songs that are, you get like sucked into it and spit out the other side of it.
Yeah. I like this. I mean, this is
Hillary. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris. I apologize. Hillary just chimed in that Drifter is first on the second side. So Drifter is the one.
You owe Hillary.
You're higher.
Hillary O'Connell, I think her. Yeah.
Hillary.
We'll get her. Tell her to put her Venmo in the chat.
Fuck, I'm ruined.
I got it.
I'm ruined. Hillary, don't do this to me. We'll set up a payment plan.
Yeah, Hillary is actually one of the sweetest people we've met through this whole journey. I can't believe she would actually take all of your.
But a portion.
Yeah, put a piece.
No, she wants it.
She wants it.
Smart woman.
Well, that's still. I mean, if it all works out. Anyway, Voodoo Lady, in the darkness, this guy is summoned as if by magic. I do know a little bit about voodoo, which I think, again, this drifts into a little bit of maybe cultural appropriation waters, but in the, the 1994's anything goes. But again, he's being crazy. She says, driving me crazy. And in the first album, or the first song of the album, he's like, I'm going to go crazy if I can't leave. So there's a nice little rhyme, I think, happening.
I never even heard that.
Hey, man.
Birdie.
Then we go to Joppa Road. I love Joppa Road. This reminds me of like summer in New England. It has a Spirit of 76 vibe. I think he and the Voodoo Lady are going on a road trip. But even on this road trip with this new woman, he wants to go back to a place that he knows about and see his
it's not
friend.
new.
at the
It's not
Sunoco.
going forward. They're still coming back. It's still cyclical. It's still
He's got to
going
deal
back
with
the material. We have to still stay in this material cycle.
exactly. So it's like this. He's taking, and if it's just a breakup, then it's this new woman. He wants to go back to this old place, maybe to erase the memory of the woman who knocked him out. But it's, you know, I think one of those things of that we're forced to kind of redo karma or deal with stuff before we can move on.
So that would mean the next song, Candy.
Well, hold on before we do.
Oh, go on.
At the end, there's that talking, "Baby, you look great today."
Yeah.
Number one, I thought the album could end there, and it would be very nice for me. But I also love shit like that where people just like talk.
Yeah.
Which there is something like Weezer's first album. There's like sort of talking. They're maybe they're related somehow, Ween and Weezer. And then
they're right next to each other in the record. I got to switch.
Roberta, you just laughed like Ed McMahon.
W's.
What were you going to say about Candy?
So if Joppa Road is this road trip with the girl, then Candy has got to be the car crash at the end. That
was
kind of. To me, the song is a sonic.
I just staring at Katie Hartman's face the whole time that we've been talking.
I'm enjoying this so much.
I know. I can't. Sorry, not to make you self-conscious. I just like. I'm staring at Roberti in awe, and then every once in a while I just look over at Hartman, and she's doing the same thing. Wait, so is Candy about sex, Roberti?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a dirty sex song.
Mm.
And it's Candy with an I, so it's a name, I think.
Yeah,
it's somebody.
It's a dirty, sexy name. It's Candy with an I.
Right. I mean,
again, in the context of 1994, I don't.
And in my framework.
Yeah.
And this is where all of like the sweet things, the chocolate with cheese, the custard, whatever, all that stuff. But I really, that's the one thing. And then it's like, oh, the title comes from this song, but it's reversed,
Mm.
So it must be something important. Oh, but wait. Then there's someone screaming in the background, and it sounds like a computer is crashing, and it sounds like So this is oh god, this is I said. It felt like it had all these false endings. Like it seems like it's over, and then it continues, and it feels like Hal or some other computer like kind of like dying. And I think this is when he pierces through the veil of desire. It's the screaming inside. It's similar to the child and the adult. He's screaming through the computer's programming, which is your mind saying, get cheese and chocolate, get whatever, have sex, get custard and cream. And somewhere in the side, he's screaming that there's something beneath that. Do you know what they're screaming?
Well, so Will can tell you that the history of the song is pretty interesting in terms of how it was created. But when you're talking about, and it seems like adolescent like mayhem, when just like post-adolescent angsty, having money in the studio and making like they were fucked up and they'd gotten back. They recorded this from the back of a car that was doing donuts in a snowstorm. But like, oh my God. But they
locked him in the trunk.
It does feel connected to what you were just talking about breaking through in some way.
Yeah.
About like. There is like in what was an exercise in like a juvenile, like just expression of whatever.
Right.
That perhaps there was what you were just talking about actually made me think that maybe there was some of that subconsciously happening.
Well, I think there's great wisdom in even those stupid adolescent hormone, chemical, whatever thing. Like even doing donuts, you know who else used to spin in circles?
Ram Dass?
Sufis and
Whirling Dervish.
Yeah, those were also prog rock bands.
Yeah, check them out. Sufi, www.sufi.
I spent a semester in the Czech Republic. I loved
it. Buenos tardes, amigo.
Now this is kind of offensive because of the accent he puts on.
Sure.
And so I like the story though. It reminds me of a Bob Dylan song, kind of this long. Do you know Lily Rosemary and the Jack of Hearts? It's on Blood on the Tracks. It's like my favorite Bob Dylan song, one of them.
I don't know. I'm more of a Joey man.
Like a baby kangaroo?
No, the Bob Dylan song Joey in terms of
I don't know that.
long narrative songs.
So here we go.
Give me Hurricane.
This is very cinematic though, and so I think part of me feels like, oh, it's tongue in cheek, but the guitar at the end is so good that there's no way that it can just be a joke, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's this.
That's kind of what Ween. You just described Ween in some way as well, like on a larger. Like it can't be a joke because it's so good.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's like a revenge song, or like all of this jealousy song. Like I'm killing the thing because it had what I wanted. And I get back to like the love thing. This guy is a ladies' man, so I have to kill him. We're in competition and all this stuff. But I think it's about, again, it's sort of like Luke Skywalker facing himself. It's about destroying yourself and what revenge will do, or your own. I guess it's his brother, right? The guy that he kills looks like his brother. They look like
his brother. Yeah.
Well, he killed his brother, blamed it on a guy who looked like his brother, and then killed that guy.
Yeah.
But I guess
I played.
Like, oh, no question. Sorry, this is the last thing. I was like, because it's Cinco de Mayo is an Independence Day for Mexico, but they have 2 Independence Days. Like, so when you at the point that you think you're free, maybe you're not really free. You have another independence to claim, and then I think his confession was part of his freedom, of confessing what he did to this person was a necessary thing for his true independence. And then there's this giant explosion at the end, which I don't really know what it is, but something.
Well, it's the birth of AIDS.
It must be clearly an atomic.
Yeah. To which our next song is just known as the HIV song.
I really feel like it's in such bad taste, especially at this time in the world, in 1994.
Yeah, 95. I think they were purposely walking a line,
right,
and finding a line. And I will say, New Hope is a very like gay friendly town, and always has been. It's like a P town, kind of vibe. And I don't think it was an anti-gay song. I think it's just like what is like AIDS? It's just this huge idea.
That's
circus.
The craziest thing that we could just do to this jingle jangle music.
Yeah.
I
also thought it was something about that love could kill you, which kind of gets to a more thematic. Again, I'm forcing all this stuff.
Yeah, that's very feminist.
But yeah, I really like, what is this doing here? It feels like a weird cartoon. But they kept it in.
They sure did.
They still
they played it at they played it the last show we saw, and I will say that was fun for some reason. That I was in a headspace where I was like, music is so fun. Also watching David Carl have the horror of what the words were.
But and like they're also like, I mean, it goes back to this idea of like, as a punk idea of like, all they're doing is saying an HIV.
Yeah.
They're not saying there's no other. I mean, you can project commentary on it because of the carnival music.
Yeah.
But all they're saying is AIDS and HIV. And it feels like they're making fun of it because of that. But again, they're not. All they've said. I don't know. I mean, it's a song. Yeah. I don't. It's not my favorite Ween song, but it's a song that like that Ween fans, when they play it live, do get excited for, because they just scream. I mean, they just play the song, and it feels it somehow feels festive, which is fucked up. I don't know. And it's like, you know, I mean, it does feel like a punk. It goes back to this punk kind of like you can, like, what does any of it mean really? Like, what does, you know, I don't know.
Just being irreverent, kind of.
Right. Yeah. But
Like for me, Chris, one of my favorite things about the band is that they were my favorite band when I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And all the jokes landed for me then, and I was on the wavelength. And then, you know, every few years a new record came up, and I was a little bit older, the band was a little bit older.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the last song on their last record is like exactly what my life is now before COVID. But it's just about going to like a friend's house for a lovely party and dinner and like, you know, and like minor drinks before we all go back home to our families.
Yeah. And
it's just like this growth. You can see 25 years of a person's life in their music. You know, that's one of the reasons why I love the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Diener was talking about.
This to me really sounded like Belle and Sebastian or kind of like the Beatles. I think this is Domestic Tranquility. He's saying, I do not think I will ever return again, my friend, which is either returning to, well, like it's Nirvana. You've exited this cycle of death and rebirth, which that does make me think like, then I was like, oh, are they from Seattle? Was Eddie Vedder? Although they never say the word Nirvana, but that would be, you know.
And I would read your thesis on this.
You what?
I would read your thesis. About,
oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, you know, I'm so like, I've lost any sort of mental, like whatever, because I always like, oh, I would love to write an essay about this. I would love to write an essay about this. And it's just like, I haven't read a book in 2 years or something. Maybe I can write an essay about this.
I believe it.
I don't know if this is the place. Maybe this is the place to start.
Start my comeback.
For the essay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a nice song. It does to me. It's just, who is Diener?
He's the guitar player.
You got producer Mikey on that one. So Diener, man, we didn't give you any real history. So
I don't want it. I like it's as if this landed.
Great. Well, I don't know if you want to know or not.
I didn't know. Well, that was just a question. I was like, who is Diener?
Right. So well, do you want to know?
He's the guitarist in Ween?
Yeah. And he's it started the two of them.
Uh-huh.
Aaron and Mickey were two friends when they were 13.
Okay.
You know, in middle school they met and started Ween, and then it really went from just two kids fucking around and like, you know, huffing like dust off typing class to this, whatever this is. So it's been a long journey, which what I'm sensing is that we should, Roberti, I don't know what your schedule is like, but I think we should be doing more of these.
I would love it. I feel like I'm talking too much, but this really was.
That's why I usually feel like I talk too much on these things because I probably do, but it's been a pleasure to listen to because I think as Will has experienced and Katie, we both know this record, or all three of us, and Mikey too, and people probably in the I can't see the comments or anything, but the people who listen to this record, I don't know that anyone has put this lens on it of this kind of I love the fact that like there's the samsara journey of this, like this person going through this idea of like moving through a material world. And I've never thought about what Diener was talking about in terms of like domestic, you know, like I won't return, because that the idea of like, oh, I'm not going back to that party, or I'm not going back to that scene. I've made that scene. I'm making this scene now. And this satisfies my soul in a way that like I either can't explain to you or it doesn't matter because it's just what I'm experiencing now. Is a heavy concept. I think that's what that's different than, I mean, maybe that is what Nirvana is too in some way. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't know what, but we should, there's one more.
Wait, Nirvana, that's a grunge rock band, right?
So the last track, "Don't Shit Where You Eat." We referenced it earlier.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, this really ties into the idea of a cycle, of
Oh, yeah.
breaking a cycle. You know, but Lamontville and some good old wine.
It's one of my favorite Ween. It's one of my favorite because I like those things. I think I'm not a V. You know, I like those things. I just like this thing. I like sandy toes and salty kisses. Oh, Ramdas.
You put Ramdas. He's got a salty kiss. He was barefooted for a while. So yes, he does have sandy toes.
Yeah.
I think again, this is sort of like for me. I mean, for me, it was like it's smooth and happy. It doesn't seem like there's any. They're not putting anything on in this one. It doesn't seem like jokey or like a genre piece like the other ones were. And it ends with whatever the duty doos and just sort of wordless, you know, kind of sounds. Yeah. So I mean, I guess, but like, "Don't Shit Where You Eat," that is usually about don't date at work. That's the only place that I've heard that term, right?
Well, I think it means, but I also
don't do bad stuff where you live.
I think it means don't fuck up a good, like a peaceful thing, like where there's peace, don't bring strife or drama into it.
Don't rock the boat.
Don't rock the boat, baby.
The movie is Same Boat.
In theaters everywhere.
Yeah. You should watch it. Everyone should rent it though.
Yeah, where can people get the movie?
I'm gonna watch it tonight. Where can I watch it right now?
Video on demand, I think YouTube, iTunes. Amazon, I think.
Is it on Amazon? That's cool.
I think you have to pay for it. I guess the hope, I really don't know what's going on with it. At a certain point, the hope is that it will be on stream. Like a dream would be like Netflix would buy it, and then Katie and I would get rich.
Yeah.
And
there's been a lot of comments out there that people would love to hear what you have to say about other albums. Just planting that seed. Yeah.
Listen,
I think we should do. I think Quebec is one that I don't know if we should go. How should we do this? Should we just have? Should we?
I think me.
We just throw them into the pod, like right away. No.
I don't know. Because Roberti's a good sport and all, but I don't.
Yeah, I want him to come back.
Yeah.
What does the pot mean? What would you throw into the pot?
This is their fourth album.
Chocolate and Cheese?
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was the second.
Okay.
I think it would in some ways, I think it would be really interesting to hear what you would make of a lo-fi, because, you know, I think many people have commented on this band, including Will did a great interview with this guy, Ben Vaughn, who's a great musician, and he produced they made a country record, which you should definitely listen to, and would be interested to hear your thoughts on that. But one thing that Ben Vaughn commented on is that no one's ever really been able to figure out how these guys got so good at what they do. And so like, so when you listen to the pod, like, you know, we've talked about this a lot over the course of this podcast, is that it's incredible. It's an incredible record, but as their earlier stuff is just it's two guys with a 4-track, and it's fucking noisy and fuzzy and fucked up and sludgy and what ends up happening now is they've become this fully realized incredible rock and roll band, one of the great rock and roll bands in the history of these United States, I think, is that these songs that started out as these like kind of sophomoric ideas, but maybe not. That's why I would like to hear. The reason why I would think it would be interesting for Bertie to listen to the pod is because maybe he would find things that, you know, on a first listen. But I think you have to suspend some of your. It's dark. It's fuzzy and you know.
See, I think the flip side is he should listen to a newer live show, to see them grown up and playing I mean, what year was Live at Stubbs? Was that?
I think that would be a good
that was early 2000s. It's a long record.
It's a long record. I think we should go. I think we should go Quebec for where we're at in the world right now. But we can also talk about this offline.
God,
I
Ween,
want to give
Roberti.
I want to give a big thank you for Evan for not showing.
What is Godween? I mean, what is the Godween thing? What does that mean?
Will, do you want to?
No, go right ahead.
Godween. So their first, they had made some like EPs and stuff before, but their first proper record was Godween Satan, the oneness, which is about, which I think again would be a good.
Even the idea of weaning, this idea of avoiding the desire or getting pushed away from the woman, whatever the goddess mother on the cover is like, this is your weaning. Sometimes you have to push the baby away,
even though it's spelled with 2 E's and not an EA.
I didn't matter? Yeah, no, because I didn't understand that. That's my own stupidity working for me.
Right, so we came up with this. We came up with the title of Godween Evan because Evan then represented the Satan, the evil.
Okay.
Which is very much how we treat him. Like I do. I should use I statements. Much of the early dynamic of the show is that I don't like, and I do like Evan. I do. Right. I did give him too much weed once, and he blacked out and fell over. And I've hurt him, I think, and I currently want to run away with. I currently want to
mentally. That hurt.
The newest dynamic is that I want to run away with his wife and his children too, and leave him alone.
And if you ever want to see Evan in a really dirty T-shirt, like with dirty words on it, check out the film Same Boat. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, great.
I love that you made him turn the shirt inside out. That was one of my favorite.
Roberti, thank you very much.
Of the movie.
Thank you very much, Roberti, for doing this.
Thank you.
We should do it again. We'll talk. We should do it in a couple of weeks with Quebec, I think.
I would love that, and I just like seeing you all, and just all my fond feelings for you guys came back instantly.
Yeah.
So, and thank you to the people watching.
Thank you, sir.
Hillary, I'll be in touch about finances.
She wants half. She said she wants half. She's cool with half.
I think that seems fair.
Fair. It's fair, but painful.
Fair, totally, yeah. But that's what most fair is painful, usually.
That's right.
Fair ain't easy,
Roses ain't free.
Don't you ever think of me when you're outside strolling. Don't you ever wave the flag when we're rocking and rolling.
The end of side A on the cassette was Drifter in the Dark.
Hillary.